Hello, Durham Police.
Oh, hello. I've been advised to ring this number in regards to, I don't know how to put it, someone calling us out of money for a holiday.
There had started to be a few calls coming in, sort of trickling in to begin with.
I booked a holiday back in February with an online travel agent,
And I had rang Jet2 this morning and nothing's been booked.
They were reporting that they had purchased a holiday but had found out it didn't exist.
I've already rang TUI and I'm not on the plane.
We got told to pull over because it's already been booked.
They'd heard from other people or on social media that it had all been a fraud.
What's the total value of the holiday?
It was £600.
Paid £1,700. £4,000.
£5,520.
There just seemed to be more and more calls coming in.
We recorded over 450 crimes of fraud, and sat behind that was many more victims.
She's defrauding people.
Lyne Barlow.
Lyne Barlow.
Lyne Barlow.
It started very small. People were having holidays that were very cheap. Things like a trip to Dubai for 2 weeks all inclusive for the price of £500. People were paying it, having the holiday of a lifetime, and therefore coming back saying she's a really good travel agent.
We had independent travel agents that were saying that they were losing out on business because everybody was going to Lyne.
It is understood that she was actually subsidising those holidays herself, and the holiday may have cost something in the region of £6,000 or £6,500.
So I actually rang the hotel last week to see whether they had a booking for me under my name.
Right.
And they said that they hadn't received anything in my name.
Some people have been left stranded, whereas other people, she's actually paid the holiday while they've been at the destination because they've complained.
I paid for loads of other stuff for them to do. I think in the end I must have spent about £4,000. They only obviously give me £1,200 and I give them the £1,200 back.
So that one thing cost £4,000 and you wouldn't have gotten a penny for it?
No.
Okay.
Deposits were actually being used to pay for their successful holidays, so therefore people were supporting other people's holidays effectively. We then started looking at what was the motive if she wasn't getting financial gain, and it was at this time we started getting other complaints in relation to people lending the money.
She'd got to a point where she really didn't know how she would ever get out of this situation. The money had dried up. She still needed to try and book the holidays that had been booked by customers, so she then borrowed money from other people that she never could refund.
One of the neighbours that actually lent her £24,000 to help her with a business.
So other people paying you money for what they think is going to be a holiday, and you're trying to pay your friend back for a loan that
and
she's
that's on their holiday.
I struggle to get my head around how on earth you ever thought you were going to get out of this.
This is what I mean about what I've done with all these people. It's horrendous. I literally do not sleep. I have to suffer for what I've done to people.
A couple of days later, officers went to see the mother, and at that time she was very, very emotional, and then disclosed that she believed that she'd been a victim of fraud at the hands of Lyne Barlow also.
Have you accessed any of your mother's bank accounts without authority and transferred money out into your own accounts?
Yeah.
How much do you think you've spent of that?
It'll have been all of it.
All of it.
Lyne Barlow's father had died suddenly in the workplace, resulting in her mother receiving a number of insurances. And over a period of time, Lyne positioned herself where she had complete control over her mother's finances. She was having regular holidays abroad. She was having lavish parties, which equated to roughly £600,000.
And how much would you say those holidays were when you booked those?
Probably about £5,000 at a time.
And
Between 5 and 8 Dubai. I think one Dubai holiday was about 10.
When Mum's money ran out, she wasn't able to provide Mum with money. She introduced the possibility of investing in her husband's business and getting shares which would produce dividends. The company actually didn't have that financial opportunity, and it never existed.
She was saying, yes, I'll invest with Paul's company, and she thought that money was going across, but in reality the money wasn't there because you'd already spent it.
Yeah.
In effect, you were covering up what you were doing, the spends,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mum thought she was a millionaire. That's what Lyne had told her. and provided documentation to show that she was a millionaire, but all of those were lies.
But it allowed Lynn to then manipulate her mother further, which then gave her the idea to get in touch with one of her best friends, and she took £100,000. When those funds started running low is when she actually started with the holiday fraud, trying to get cash liquidity to be able to service the needs of her friend and her mother, who were expecting returns on their investment. That fraud then got so large that it collapsed on itself.
Okay. And then at some point I would be buying lottery tickets because I was trying to get money back.
Do you know how much you would have spent on lottery to
A
get?
lot, but I don't know.
Thousands, or?
Probably.
Did any of them ever come back?
No.
And also it was discovered that at this time she was depriving her mother of any mail.
So you didn't want her to receive any letters?
No.
No, because what would those letters have told her?
That she was in trouble.
She did receive the odd bit of mail, and one of those pieces of mail related to her mortgage, which was in arrears. She was obviously in a panic about that because Lynn had been looking after her finances. She broached the subject with Lynn, who said that she would sort it, and a while later she received a letter which had been created by Lynn, allegedly from the bank, saying that the mortgage arrears was a clerical error and that she didn't actually have any arrears on her mortgage and everything was fine, which sorted the situation as far as Mum was concerned.
And did she accept you every time you gave her these excuses and these faked letters and things like that? She accepted them?
In actuality, she was in arrears and she was in real danger of having the house repossessed.
She has struggled to understand why her daughter would do such a thing to her. She has had to go back to work to try and be able to afford to live because the money that she thought she had just isn't there.
It's a nightmare. I mean, she's going through some shit as well, so I don't know why she's been doing this. Like, you know, it's ridiculous.
What she going through?
She's got cancer as well.
When she came into custody, she was wearing coverage on her head and she was walking with the aid of a crutch.
She told everybody that she had cancer.
Have you ever had cancer? No. Okay. So everybody thought you'd had cancer twice and that was not true? No?
I spoke to her husband and her mother, who were both in disbelief as they'd been supporting her through the period where she was claiming to have cancer. On occasion she was cutting her own hair and leaving it on pillows so it would look as though her hair was actually falling out.
For the business, when people were threatening us and stuff, I would use it for like, please don't hurt us, I'm not very well, that kind of thing. Which
then puts pressure back on to those individuals to say, am I really justified in sort of like pushing for a holiday when she's significantly ill?
She said she was remorseful, but she is a fraudster, and fraudsters lie, and lie convincingly.
It's stupid, I know it's stupid. Okay. I still intended to pay everybody back.
The only way you could end up paying any of those people back was by getting more money using more lies, basically. Yeah. So it had to fall down at some point, didn't it? Yeah.
I believe that she wanted a quality of life that she couldn't afford. She then had to propagate other frauds to service the fraud that was existing and to maintain that lifestyle.
The amount of victims in this case was huge. We're looking at about a £1.2 million loss.
And she's had plenty of opportunities to stop throughout this process.